Gold is in danger as it faces a critical test. I'm your host, Steve Van Metre, and thanks for joining me for part 2 of the Sunday Chart Show, where we've got the technicals and momentum on the miners, metals, dollars, bonds, and the energy sector. Let's kick things off with gold because it's facing a critical test, and this just could be a sign of liquidity drain from the Fed, with more to come, or a huge buying opportunity. We'll start out with the relative strength indicator, momentum indicator, and when this is 40 or above, momentum is positive. When it's at 30 or less, which is rare that it's less, it means it's oversold, and at 70 above, it's overbought. And what do we see? That gold, starting here in July, has been oversold, and in fact, price continues to go down with it. Now keep in mind, price can go down further. A stock, or in this case a metal, can be oversold for longer than people expect. How about the MACD? Well, momentum to the downside. We thought back here in mid-June this little brief pullback in momentum may not have been a big deal. Well, it turned out to be that it was. Momentum continued to fade, and is headed down with now no sign of a bottom yet. And how about Momentum Timer Pro, our proprietary momentum screener that scans over 100 ETFs? Well, it takes the RSI over 40, a positive cross on the MACD, or its own internal signal. 2 of the 3 have to confirm buy signal. And on gold, it's showing 14 consecutive days of sell signals. It's in a downtrend as a 1, 3, and 6 month signal show. If you're a trader, if you're an investor, right now this is free to sign up, and this thing will scan a large number of ETFs for you, and it is again free. Link in the corner and description below, but not for much longer. So take advantage of that now before it's too late. How about we take a look at what are we on GDX? We haven't looked at gold. We got to go to the charts because I changed the format a little bit, and I'm not used to that yet. But here is the critical test. Gold faces at, what do we see here? 1688, 1687.90 is where I've got my line. But notice this is a critical test for gold, because if it breaks down below this dashed purple line, what does that tell you? We're in a major topping pattern. Where's the big volume profile support? You maybe heard me tweet about this, and I think gold gets down to 1300. Why is that? Well, look where all the buyers are at. I mean, the only buyers in between are around 1500, and there's not that many of them. So major test here for gold. Is this a potential buying opportunity? Well, let's zoom in a little bit and look at the RSI and the MACD. Here we can see the RSI oversold. Here we see the MACD not quite bottomed yet, telling us potentially there's still more downside to come here. Maybe a touch of this 1687 level before it bottoms out. I would imagine that's where the next set of buyers are at. Let's take a look at the weeklies. And what do we see in the weeklies? Here again, 1300. Look at all those buyers down there, but look at the RSI. It's not oversold yet on the weekly. The MACD hasn't bottomed yet. We'll note there are periods here where the RSI is at oversold levels on the weekly, and over here, those have been big buying opportunities. And the last one, well, it turned out this oversold level here wasn't a buying opportunity, continued to go lower. That's why you can't base everything on technicals. And if you're trading them, well, be sure to use your stop losses. Let's continue on and take a look at the miners that we quickly jumped into, because where the metal goes, the miners will follow, but typically the miners lead the metal. Here we see on the RSI, momentum got up to 50, and then it just faded, and as momentum slows, price has gone down with it. Notice that there's nothing stopping this move down in GDX. How about the MACD? It's tried to cross, but nope, it's still headed lower. Price with it. Momentum Timer Pro said, hey, don't worry about it. 22 days ago, we told you to get out of this if you weren't sure. And if you weren't then sure, well, the continuation of the sell signals probably told you should have put those stops on, tighten them up. Notice the bigger picture trend here is in a downturn. None men on the 1, 3, and 6 month signals. Let's take a look at GDX. I'm going to show you in a little bit here where Momentum Timer Pro really shined on a trade with Palladium. I'm going to add that to today's show just so you can see. But look at this GDX. It's just down. And notably on the RSI, it is at oversold levels. We talked about that already. And look at the MACD, still not showing signs of a bottom yet. So suggesting that price is going to go down more. Is GDX at a critical test? Well, I'd say it broke it. is likely to head down here to this high 22 level. You see 2273 on the volume profile. That's the next level of support. There's a little bit of support here, but really, see how the volume is popping out? That's where your next supply zone is at. And how do we know that? Well, because it's where the volume is at. And let's make a little change to our charts here so we can draw on the supply zone. And you can see this is where the last major buying spree was right there in about that zone here. Price looking to head down there, may slow down a little bit and rebound off the top of this, but let's take a look at the weeklies and see, are we there yet? Well, we're now oversold on the RSI. MACD still showing no signs of bottoming yet, but we'll note that here we can see that when the RSI was oversold, that was a big buying opportunity. Here was a buying opportunity. This one was a little bit of one on a downtrend, but notably, buyers came in here and oversold and still went down. So keep that in mind as you look to trade these. Keep your stops fairly tight on a downtrend. Be careful. It can catch up with you. All right, let's take a look at silver, and then we'll look at the Palladium trade. What do we have with silver? It's oversold too. It's been going away. Notice this is all Fed liquidity drain. This is not normal. That's why I said the risk is still high. You're trading just on technical alone. You can't just think the Fed's going to capitulate. Keep your stops relatively tight. RSI is at 28.82, just under 29. Telling you we're oversold. Prices are coming down. Note, again, RSI fading and price going with it. How about the MACD? No signs of a bottom here yet. It's just continuing to trend lower. Momentum Time Pro told you if you were trading silver 15 days ago, you could get out. And if you weren't convinced then, the continuation of the sell signal said, get out. All right, let's take a look at silver here. And remember that Momentum Time Pro is free. I mean, FREE. Sign up and you can get it. And when it goes paid, you'll get a lot more out of it for the very cheap price we're going to sell it for. All right, here you can see a little bit of supply zone here on the daily chart. This broke out of a topping pattern. Many said this was not a topping pattern. Remember, since we've been doing the show, I said this is a topping pattern. It is. There's your proof. Price finally broke down, and it's down here at 18, looking to get down to 17. There's a little supply zone here. There's a bigger one. If we move this line right down to here, that's a little too far, right about, want to kind of book in that big chunk of volume, and right around there. So you can see there's two supply zones, a smaller one, a bigger one, and then of course down below is the next one. So what does that tell us? Price is still moving down. Will this be the end? Because look, you notice RSI went oversold here. Buyers came in. Liquidity drain. Oversold again. Will buyers come in? Probably. Will it be a liquidity drain? Well, we know the Fed's still tightening, so the answer to that is probably. How about on a bigger term picture? Look at the weekly. This is why people are going to come in and buy this. Weekly RSI oversold. No, it's been a buying opportunity here, Not so much here on the long term. Short term, yes, here. Short term, and then no. MACD not showing a bottom yet on the weeklies. So again, if you're trading this, be careful. This is still the beginning phase of a liquidity drain. Now let's take a look at Palladium. What happened with Palladium is the coveted signal on the bigger picture here went from buy to a minimum last Thursday. We do note that the 1 month signal was positive. It has to be a minimum or higher. And what happened to that trade? Well, I don't know how many people jumped on it. But let's look at Palladium here, and let's first start with the dailies. We notice that the RSI is trending higher. It is at, what is it at? 41, so still briefly positive, but the trend was up. The MACD is rolling over, a little cross here to the downside, and it's sitting below its 21-day moving average, 50-day moving average. But what happened is it flagged that buy signal right in here. So if you would have bought it open, you would have a nice big move. It was about over 9% move. If you would have put stop losses on, as we do suggest, you would have gotten stopped out somewhere in here and still walked away with a nice trade. Now you've got this thing on your radar and you're looking to see if there's another entry point. Now let's look at the 10-year weekly. suggests this is a topping pattern. So it may not be somewhere you want to enter again, but Momentum Timer Pro gave you that nice signal. And again, if you don't look at Palladium, not something I even look at, that's what Momentum Timer Pro was designed to do, help you find things that you might have overlooked. And there was a nice trade. How about we look at the dollar, which is the wrecking ball for these metals? We see RSI is just under 68. Deeply overbought conditions. But remember, we saw this from the energy sector and see it now with the dollar. You can stay overbought for a lot longer. Price can go higher. Of course, our chief strategist, Jeff Snyder, tells us we're in a major dollar shortage, and that means pain trade for dollar is higher. Notice the MACD, it's continuing to move. A little slow down here in momentum. May not be a big deal, could be a little bit of a pullback before it continues higher in this trend. Momentum Timer Pro gave you a re-entry point 24 days ago. You know this is an uptrend, so when you get a re-entry from sell signals to a buy in an uptrend, as indicated by a max, and mid on the 1, 3, and 6 month respectively, tells you to add to positions, or if you missed it, to get in them. And what do we have on UUP? Let's see, where is UUP? There it is. And what do we note? Big, nice bottoming pattern with the volume profile. Prices gapping and moving higher. Let's zoom out to the 5-year chart. Of course, it's off the chart for UUP. We would expect a pullback here at some point. It seems very reasonable to see that. But nevertheless, the pain trade, again, is higher. Let's go to the max weekly on this one. And note on the weekly, overbought, but it was been overbought before. Price continued to go higher up here. And even on the RSI, you notice down here, look on the weekly, the RSI came down, or MACD came down, price continued to go up, and notably, it made new highs. Here we are at 107, just under 108. Said we would get there. Next move, now you're looking at 112 is the next bar to reach for the dollar. I think we get there and maybe even go higher. How about we look at bonds? If you're looking for something that's bottoming that no one looks at and no one wants, RSI at 55, momentum's been building in TLT, price going up with it. How about the MACD? You got a positive cross, it's moving higher. Momentum Timer Pro for the daily traders gave you a signal 15 days ago. If you're a longer term trader, what you're looking for, you want to watch this sell signal go to minimum. Just a little insider tip, probably will trigger early next week, and that tells you the bottom is almost complete and looking like a potential good entry point. At least back testing has shown that when that combination happens and that when that 3 month goes to minimum and there's a positive signal on the 1 month, it is a good sign. And look at this, it's crossed over its 50-day moving average here in green, over its 21-day moving average in red. Notice the MACD moving higher, RSI finally off of oversold levels, prices moving higher. You'll notice all this volume here. If we zoom in to the 6 month, it's above that. That is a positive indicator looking to take price higher out of this range. And if we zoom back out to the 2-year chart, you can see if it can break through this, it's got some upside into the 130s levels, because as the volume tapers off, it's got to move higher. How about the weeklies for TLT? Well, note on the weeklies, you get a positive cross on the MACD. When that happens from oversold levels, you see on the RSI, you see this rally here in price, and we have seen that rally here, and you've seen that rally coming up here. So nice look for the bond market, telling you deflation is coming. Again, our chief strategist, Jeff Snyder, has been telling us that for a while, and it's coming. How about the energy sector? Bonds would love to see weakness here. RSI is under 40, sitting at 37.5. Price has gone down. Momentum, notice it broke, overbought, boom, to oversold. And all of a sudden, lack of interest, momentum to the downside. It's corresponding with price. How about the MACD trying to bottom? Maybe a short-term move here. Let's take a look at XLE and see what's going on. And there it is. So it got down, broke through the supply, a bit of volume. There's a supply zone up here. Nice, looks like a little topping pattern. It's coming down. There's a little bit of volume here. And what do we see? The MACD starting to bottom out. We're coming off of oversold levels on the RSI. So potential short-term move, but even then that was you see the RSI brought price down. So it's trying to bounce off of its 200-day moving average, which has been a notable last sign of support. So look for a little bit of upside move there. How about the weeklies But what do you see? Overbought on the weeklies. Wow, look at that. Isn't that interesting? 10-year volume profile. I did not look at this earlier. So this is fascinating. So you can see where people bought over the last 10 years. That could break and send prices down. Noticeably, the MACD to the downside. We saw that in dollars, not that big of an indicator. But the RSI is telling you momentum is slowing, and that is not a good sign. It's at 43, so positive on the weekly, but maybe not for much longer. So look for a little bounce here where people have been buying over the last 10 years. And of course, we've noted in the past, we'll note again, it's worth it. When you see these big tops in the energy sector, there are buyers will come in, but that means the big players are getting out. An eventual plunge in price is coming, and that will mean deflation is here. And with that, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for being fans, and we'll see you soon. I'm Steve Van Metre. Bye now.